Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the RTS Cast and Stuff channel. If you haven't subscribed already, remember to hit subscribe. It's down there, it's free. Stick a like on the video and let me know down in the comments what you think of the 7th Panzer Division at the moment, because I have very mixed feelings about it. It was requested that I cover this deck in one of the comments last week, and I thought, well, actually, you know what, I will have a look at it. I'm not a fan, as I say, of the deck. I don't like the T72. I don't think it's in a good place. I think its lack of range makes it a difficult division to play. It's certainly not one I would advise for 1v1 ranked. I've seen people try to play, they were a lot better than me, and they really suffer for it. I think it's fine, probably in team games and 10v10s, definitely. Everything's fine in 10v10s, right? So we'll be building more of a team game deck here. I built this earlier today. I spent like 30 minutes making the video and realized it was 30 minutes long, which is too long for a deck build. I spent too long explaining. I then re-recorded it, going through it and explaining my choices, and realized that there was a problem with my microphone. So we're trying it again. Third time's the charm, right? So, 7th Panzer. First thing to say is remember, all the units in it get resolute, so they all get a slight bonus to stress resistance. I can't remember what it is right now, but they all get a bonus to stress resistance. Happy days. On that basis, I might not rank as much up as I would otherwise, because most of the tabs in this deck are quite small. Only really the tank tab is big. You'll see that as we get there. So, logistics, really straightforward here. MTLB, T813, SPW. The MTLB, because I can move it to the front line, it's nice, cheap, and cheerful. The T813, I will use as a small fob. I will have the MTLBs go to it, or use units, or pull units back to it, I should say. I will not have it up front. I don't want to get artillery on a 65-point supply truck. Otherwise, I'm going to be very sad when it gets destroyed. The SPW, it doesn't have any weapons, but it's got wheels, so it's fast, and you get 3 of them. The other option here would be the BMP-1K, because you get 3 of them, but it's very slow, so I wouldn't personally take it. As I say, straightforward. Infantry, 7 available slots. That's it. You don't have a lot of space here for infantry. It's not a great deck for that. So you have to be a bit picky and choosy about what you rank up. So I've brought in the Conkers because I want something long-range, anti-tank. It's always good to have one of these in your deck, usually. There's a few decks I might not take it when they have very strong tanks, but here I definitely want one. Then I've opted to take the Panzerjäger and rank them up. These guys have 2 RPG-7s with the tandem charge, so they're good against ERA. They're good against the explosive reactive armor trait, okay? These guys can be very nasty when placed in a clever way. They're good in towns, they're good in tree lines and forests, and they're very good at getting behind enemy lines and sitting on their supply road. Because if you get one of these guys around the back, sit them on the supply road, by the time the enemy realizes what's going on, they've already lost all their vehicles and tanks that were going down that road. These guys are that effective. They do a lot of damage, they do it very quickly, and the reason I've ranked them up is because they're mostly going to be against vehicles and tanks and things that are going to be doing a lot of suppression damage to them. So ranking them up gives them a bit of benefit there. They're also coming in the SPW because they're not an anti-infantry unit, but the SPW has a nice heavy machine gun which is doing alright at the moment, so it's quite nice to have that extra fire support. They do, by the way, I should say, get a bonus from being near an infantry fighting vehicle, aka a BMP, but I would bring a BMP from another part of the deck rather than send these guys in one. I want them to be fast getting around the map. Okay, then I've gone for the Mott Schutzen BTR in the SPW-70 again, and I've ranked these guys up. These will be my mainstay aggressive infantry, which I'm hoping won't panic as quickly as others might, hence they've been ranked up. You don't get a lot of slots here, so I wouldn't rank up too much. And that's why for the next 2 cards, which are standard Mott Schutzen, I have taken them in the BMP-1 and just left them as green, okay? So they're not ranked up here. The reason I'm bringing the BMP-1 SP-1 without any missiles is because I want these to be cheap and spammable. So I've got 18 BMP-1s. My intention here is that I want to use the guns to make them spammable. You could very much go for the BMP-1P, get the better ATGM that's on there, and use them as a missile platform if you so wish. But I just don't think that missile is good enough to scare many people away from most positions. I would rather utilize the guns to help clear infantry out of buildings and tree lines and hopefully do damage to small vehicles. So, mobile BMP-1 spam. That's the reason for that. 18 of them available here. Then I've opted for the Sicherungs, which I think are in a nice place right now. They're a 7-man squad, they're very cheap, they come in a BTR-60, so they've got some fire support from heavy machine gun. They don't have any anti-tank though, but they're good for just filling gaps and things and doing some damage to infantry without costing an arm and a leg. And then I've gone for the Pioneer Flam. I think the Pioneer Flams are great. I'm just bringing them in a truck. Personal choice, you could bring them in something else if you so wished, but for me, I just want to sell the truck, get the money back, and use the Pioneer Flams as anti-infantry in buildings and stuff. Maybe in a forest. Other choices here that you can consider, obviously there is the Mordschützen SMG squad. The reason I don't take these guys is because I've come to realise through talking to other people who know more than me, that the calculation that decides how they keep their weapons isn't great. So on a 7-man squad, if they lose 2 people, or 3 people I think it is, the third person dies, they lose a PKM. The next 3 people die, they lose a PKM. So they lose those machine guns pretty fast. Whereas if you have an 11-man squad, it's like 4 or 5 people that have to die before you lose a machine gun. So these guys actually lose their damage very fast, these squads, because they lose out on those machine guns pretty quickly. So just something to bear in mind how that calculation works. And I didn't realise until recently. So they certainly have their place still. If you want to take them, fine. But yeah, not the be-all and end-all. So that's what I've gone with. I wouldn't really jump on anything else here. I don't think anything else is good enough right now. The Pioneers, I guess, are fine. They're just Pioneer squad. If you so wished, you could take some. I wouldn't bother ranking them, I don't think. But I'm happy enough with that there. Artillery tab, really straightforward here for me. It's going to be the mortars and the 152mm. It does the most damage. It's the most effective still. I use it for counter battery, killing infantry in buildings, killing ATGMs, maybe killing AA when I know they're going to be sat still. Some people like Rocket Arty. I don't. I think it costs too much supply still for the amount of damage it does. Unless it's like the Uragan or something and it does so much damage, I'm not too bothered. Then in the tank tab, right, this is where you could build this deck completely differently. As I said, I hate the T72, but it is the 7th Panzer Division, and what's the point of this deck if you don't take the only thing that's available to it that's not available elsewhere, which is right now the T72. So we will take T72. Some people build this with just T55s. So I'm taking the T72 command tank because that is my big, heavy command tank. It's the best I get. Then I'm taking the T55A command tank for 2 reasons. 1, it's very cheap. 2, I want to use it to boost the other tanks. And you say, oh, but that's going to die really, really quickly. Why would you want to take that? Well, I can keep it a little bit behind the other tanks and still buff them. Also, people like destroying command tanks. They see a command symbol, they go, oh, I've got to destroy that. And in team games and 10v10s, you can have so many commands flying about, it doesn't really matter. So, in my mind, it's going to be distraction. They're going to see command tank and they're going to send everything at that while the T72Ms and the T72M1 are doing some damage. That's what's in my head. It might not work out that way, but a lot of people just see command and go, I have to kill that. I must kill that before I kill anything else. So, that's my thinking there. A little bit of mind games. Then I've gone for the T72M1 because it is the heaviest tank you get in terms of the armor, front armor 17. You have to take it really, don't you? I've ranked it up because I want it to be as resistant as possible to stress. And the same for the T72M. Unfortunately, it's got the same cannon, it's got less front armor, and the range is still, you know, crap. But it is what it is. It's what you get. I've gone for those ranked up again and gone for 5. You need to operate T72s as close to the enemy as possible. And you want to operate within that 2,100 meter range. If you start to get beyond that, you're in trouble. Simple as that. You have to close the distance, and while you're closing the distance, the enemy's getting shots off on you. It is the weakest pure tank division in the game, I think, when compared to the other tank divisions. So then you got the T-55 AM2B. I really like this for the missile. That's why I'm taking this. It is a missile platform, and it's quite a scary missile to some extent. It's pretty accurate, it's got a really long range, and it does a reasonable amount of damage. Also, its main gun is 2,275 meters. That's better than the T72, right? Not that it does much damage, but it's appreciated that it does better range. Then we've gone for completely spammable T-55As and TO-55s. They're there for fire support, a bit like the BMPs, but they can take a little bit more punishment, and you can spam them out because they're pretty cheap. Recon. Special Aufklärer, because they have all of these traits. Look at them all. Really good squad, 6-man squad, sniper rifle, and they've got an RPG. I think they're a good squad. And you get 4 of them if you don't rank them up to elite. I think they're fine. I'm quite happy with those. They're a little bit pricey, but I think they can go into combat. So don't say no to those. This is a submachine gun as well, remember. So get close to the enemy. That does a lot of damage. Also, its accuracy is pretty good. So I wouldn't turn your nose up at that at all. I think they're a really good squad. Aufklärer, I take these in a lot of decks. I really like the Aufklärer. And they come with the Recon Jeep as well. So 2 Recon units for the price of, well, 1 in its transport, I guess. But again, they're a 4-man squad, so I wouldn't really want to get them into combat, but I would let them have their RPG on to kill vehicles. And then I've gone for the SPW-40. People keep telling me that having a fast vehicle recon is quite nice, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. Normally here I'd either take some more infantry, or I'd probably consider the MI2, but I'm going to give it a go and see what it's like. The reason I've gone for that and not the BRM-1 is because the BRM-1 is slow. It only has a cannon rather than an autocannon, and if you charge this up the front and it comes across a bunch of foxes, the foxes are going to annihilate it. If it comes up against an AMX-10RC, it's going to annihilate it. This is not going to fare well in those fights, and it's cost you 60 points. I'd rather spend 30 and lose 30 points than spend 60 knowing I'm going to lose that. So even though it has exceptional optics, and the SPW only has very good, I just don't think it's worth it. Its stealth's also mediocre, so it's easier to see, whereas the SPW is good stealth. So, at the moment, SPW. Anti-air tab, Igla. No problems. We like the Igla. It's a good unit. Then I've gone for the Cub, 1 Kardov, not ranked up. Again, 3, just in case one gets destroyed by me mismanaging it. Very good unit. And then I've gone for the Shilka. So, someone mentioned in my 39th ranked deck about they take the Biryusa. So, I don't like the Biryusa because it's very expensive. The Biryusa is 105 points, which is the same price as the Gepard, and the Gepard is substantially better for the same price. Like, there is no comparison. The Gepard craps all over that. So, I wouldn't take the Biryusa because of the price. However, the Shilka is only 80 points. That's 25 points less, and you can rank it up and still get 4 of them, and that gives it an accuracy of 30%. I think that's pretty good. I think the accuracy bonuses made a real difference to things like the Shilka and the other Spag units. So the anti-air guns are not bad. I just don't use them a lot. But you do have to babysit it because it is radar. Keep that in mind. Other options here would be the Strelas for me, the vehicle Strelas. I've always liked the Strela 10M. The Strela 1 is very good for getting behind enemy lines if you want to try and annoy them. It can be very annoying, incidentally. I've seen Integer do that recently. Helicopters are in a terrible place right now, as of the, well, we're on the 23rd, 24th of January today. They're in a bad place. The rockets are really, 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 really bad at the moment. They need to do something about that. So I would not take any of the Mi-8s. Just no. 57mm rockets, you're going to tickle people. Even infantry, you're going to tickle there. So I wouldn't waste your time. If you really want to take them, I just think it's a waste. The Mi-24D anti-tank has a very bad missile. I wouldn't bother taking that either. So I've opted for the more expensive Mi-24P, which does have some ECM, by the way, 10%. And it has the Concon missile, which is pretty decent. And I'm thinking of this as a missile platform with a reasonable range. But bear in mind that it's very susceptible to AA now, more so than before. And the rockets may be handy for catching a unit that's behind your lines, but I wouldn't be racing into rocket range with this thing anymore. I'd be using the Concon missiles with it. Air tab is pretty small in this deck, but you could have a very spammable deck when it comes to air. Some people swear by the MiG-21s. I'm not sure. I started this build with the intention in my head that I was going to have a really spammable air tab, and now I've bought a lot of expensive aircraft. So it didn't really pan out that way. Let me run you through why. The MiG-23 is the only anti-air jet here with a long-range missile. You get 3 per card. That's 6 in total if I take 2 cards. That's quite nice. I can achieve some kind of air superiority with this deck, potentially. So that would allow my bombers to operate. And my helicopters, potentially. And yeah, I'm leaning towards keeping both of those in. The MiG-21s, if I show you them in turn, that's the AA, and that's the AA2. That one gets the same number of missiles, but they're all short range as the MiG-23. It's not that much cheaper, it's 10 points cheaper. I think for 10 points cheaper, it's garbage. This one, the MiG-21 AA, is 35 points cheaper. That's quite a big drop. And it's got 4 missiles. These were very good at throwing away against helicopters, but I don't think helicopters are as scary now. And the ones that are scary, I won't mind throwing away a MiG-23 to kill them. So I just can't get on board with the MiG-21 AA. So I haven't taken those. I've taken the Su-22 Seed here because I'd like some kind of air superiority, and that means I might need to kill radar AA. So I've taken those. You get 3. They're quite expensive, but you operate them in a sensible way. Hopefully you'll get some kills. The other nice thing is it has a nice gun as well, and it can engage aircraft. It's got some short-range missiles. It's not useless. And it's the only seed choice you get. Right, next one is an interesting one, is the anti-tank jets. So there's the Su-22, which I've chosen, and there's the MiG-23. Now, I've spoken to a couple of people who've played this deck in ranked and stuff. One of them swears by the MiG-23, because you get 4 of them and they're cheap, but they miss a lot. And the other one stopped taking the MiG-23 because it missed all the damn time, and they started taking the Su-22. I'm taking the Su-22 because I want the accuracy. It's a shorter range missile, but 50% accuracy versus 35, it's a big difference. So that's why I'm going with that. I'll leave it up to you. I think that one you could take either, but just accept that the MiG-23 is going to miss a lot. Then, in terms of HE bombers, you've got a lot of choice. I chose the MiG-23 HE bomber. What I want to quickly stress is all of the bombers in this division, the MiG-21s, the MiG-23, and the Su-22s are all dive bombers. So they'll all dive at their targets, which could be a good or a bad thing in the current game because obviously it means they're getting closer to AA pieces, which means that they're going to have more chance of hitting. So this might be a one-way trip. So there are a couple of choices for your HE bomber. There is the MiG-21 HE, which is where the spammability comes in. You get 3 of them, they're 135 points, nice and cheap, but they only get 4 bombs, 250 kilogram bombs. I don't think that's going to kill a heavy tank. I think it's going to hurt infantry and small vehicles, but I don't think it's going to kill a tank in one go, even though it's a dive bomber. Whereas the MiG-23 with 6 500 kilograms is going to annihilate a tank or 2. I think that's much scarier. The Su-22 HE gets 4 500 kilograms. I think that'll kill a tank, but it's only 10 points cheaper. The only other thing there is, as with all Su-22s, it gets a better cannon, 30mm. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, between the two of them, I'd rather have more bombs, if that's what I'm using it for, to guarantee the kill. But there's definitely something to be said here for taking the MiG-21 HE bomber and being a bit more spammable than the MiG-23. I leave that to you. But I want to try the MiG-23 and just see if it does dive too easily. And then I ended up going for the Su-22M4 cluster. It's only got 2 bombs, but they're pretty big bombs, and I'm pretty sure that will guarantee you a kill on a tank if you got on top of it, which is fine. That's what the point is of the dive bomber. Other options here would be more HE bombers. I wouldn't recommend the MiG-21 rocket at the moment, if you have a look at the stats there. MiG-21 rockets, some of them just don't hit their targets. I can't remember if it's this one or a different one, but it really struggled to dive on its target previously, and I don't think they fixed that. Rocket jets have been up and down over the course of early access, and they're kind of in a middling point at the moment. I wouldn't be jumping on them. Early on they were really good, then they became bad, then they got a little bit better again, and then they've kind of dipped off. So they're okay, but I wouldn't go out my way to get them. And then you have the napalm, which isn't great at the moment, and that's it. You're back to sort of anti-air, AT, or more HE. So I'm going to go with that and see how it goes. Let me know in the comments what you would do here, because I really do think you could really mix this up. And if you would choose something different, why would you choose it out of interest? I'm always curious why people choose something. Is there, you know, do you like the spam ability of the MiG-21s? Etc, etc. And there's the deck. As I say, 7th Panzer, not really my jam. But, you know, it's something I would play in a 10v10 quite happily. Probably not in a team game usually. And certainly not in 1v1. But thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. I'll see you all soon.